Now, it's definitely no doubt that the Lakers have desperately needed a superstar alongside LeBron James, and somebody they've been trying to make a deal for ever since he got there is Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards. Now, with Bradley Beal being an all-star, averaging 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game this season, and all while being able to play a complementary role to a superstar while excelling himself, it's exactly what he was able to do with John Wall in Washington, so pairing him alongside LeBron leading into this year's free agency is the perfect match. Now, obviously, LA is looking to add even more to become a super team in the West. LeBron's been very active and happy on social media during recent weeks, so many believe deals beginning with this were what lightened his mood, as the NBA Finals are passing us by and leading to the heavily anticipated free agency, where LA wants to sign yet another big name to a huge deal like Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, or Kevin Durant. But during last year's season around the trade deadline, the Wizards were already interested in acquiring some of the core pieces of the Lakers, like Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, and Brandon Ingram. So a deal surrounding some of these coming to Washington, along with their newly found top-tier draft pick they recently got, works well for both sides. And luck was completely on LA's side when just a few weeks ago, they actually moved up in the NBA draft lottery to secure the number 4 pick, and many including Lakers GM Rob Pelinka actually noted that this would be a huge trade asset in the near future. But all year long, it was obvious the Lakers needed to add more to compete in the playoffs. With so much speculation back around the trade deadline, they were already eyeing potential superstars to make a deal for like Bradley Beal, with him being a scorer and true shooting guard, which is something that Los Angeles lacked. The Wizards themselves were eyeing Lonzo Ball especially in this deal, because of John Wall going down with season-ending injuries and to possibly miss a large portion of next year as well, so they've needed someone to fill that slot as a playmaker. But with Lonzo being so young, he still has significant opportunity to develop, and the Wizards see this for what it really is. Many have doubted him up to this point because of his shot and injury concerns, but he's still shown great playmaking and defensive ability already, while constantly learning a lot playing under the constant spotlight of LeBron James. And despite Lonzo's father LeVar being called a distraction, a ball, or an organization, most sources around the league continue to praise Lonzo because of what he could turn into, and Washington's known this, which is exactly why they want to include him in a deal for Bradley Beal no matter what. Now, ESPN's Woj had just recently made it public that Houston Rockets GM Daryl Morey will be actively trying to improve their roster through trades and free agency after once again falling short in the NBA playoffs. Losing to the Warriors once again made it very clear that the roster isn't what it needs to be if they want to compete for a championship in the coming years. So with Chris Paul having a heavily ridiculed contract underway and continuing to age as it only gets more expensive, they've had to look for a team that not only needs a skill set but can actually afford it, which brought the Lakers into play. Now, once again, CP3 is the perfect addition to this LA team because of his experience playing alongside a superstar already in James Harden. Now, with Chris Paul continuing to be an all-star as well as averaging 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists per game this season, all while being that second option, this addition is exactly what the Lakers needed, seeing as they lack experience and a true playmaker outside of LeBron. With CP3 already proving he can play alongside bigger talent, while still being one of the most efficient point guards we've ever seen, as well as being able to score on his own while desperately chasing his first ring, it's a perfect match finally pairing the two up, seeing as LeBron is used to being successful with an elite point guard beside him in Kyrie Irving, and also Chris Paul and Bron have a history together on and off the court, still being friends all these years, so the chemistry is obviously there. But many have taken notice of Chris's current contract, 3 years remaining, as well as him making over $40 million per year for those seasons, but it could be a small price to pay if it completely switches the narrative surrounding LA's team. And Houston, with James Harden carrying the majority of the offensive workload, there's not necessarily a need for a player of Chris Paul's caliber playing that sidekick role. Many teams around the league have already expressed interest in Lonzo Ball and what his future brings to the table. And with him already showing positive signs of proving as a playmaker, he could fit in the current situation of the Rockets well while dishing out alley-oops and no-look passes just as he's grown accustomed to in LA, while also getting plenty of open opportunities to improve his jump shot, seeing as Houston lives for shooting more threes than pretty much any team ever. But despite an injury messing up Lonzo's season, he was still putting up respectable all-around numbers of 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, while being nowhere near their main option, playing alongside other potential stars like Kuzma and Ingram. So heading to another organization is something that many have felt necessary for Ball's continued development, because he was never going to be able to fully blossom if he didn't get the opportunity to, and that's where he fits right in with the Rockets. Now, obviously coming into this year's season, many had already assumed the Lakers didn't have enough to take down an elite team like Golden State in the playoffs, especially when LeBron James went down with the most devastating injury of his career. But coming into February, with not only LeBron James' return, but the All-Star break and trade deadline were also right around the corner, and that's when arguably the biggest news of the year took place. Anthony Davis demanded trade from New Orleans, something that was supposed to be kept under the table, but being such a superstar caliber talent, arguably one of the best players in the league, the news quickly went so viral that the NBA had no choice but but to find $50,000 for the situation getting out. The narrative surrounding this entire situation was that AD wanted to come to LA, no doubt about it, with him signing to LeBron's agent of Rich Paul recently, being spotted with LeBron off the court, even linking up after a game where they went up against each other, and of course even spending over $7 million on a mansion in California. All signs have pointed towards Anthony ending up there for quite some time, regardless if the Pelicans wanted to trade him there or not. But when LeBron learned that AD was leaning towards the purple and gold, a reporter asked James what it would be like teaming up with him, and he said, "That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. Like, duh, that would be incredible." But so much controversy came from this statement, as many around the league considered LeBron and the Lakers tampering. So during the sudden rise in speculation, LeBron sat down with Los Angeles Times to give his response to all of these rumors, and he said, "I kinda tend not to play much fantasy basketball. That's how I've always been. If something were to occur with our team, whether it's him or it's somebody else throughout the trade deadline, we'll approach it then. There's nothing that I need to get in this league that I don't already have. Everything else for me is just icing on the cake. There's nothing I'm chasing." A reporter also asked LeBron if he was pushing the Lakers to get Anthony Davis at that time, and he said, "I have not, to be honest, and it wasn't brought to me as trading for Anthony Davis. The way it was brought to me was, how would it feel if Anthony Davis was a part of this franchise, and I was like, duh, it would be amazing. I mean, come on now. Stevie Wonder could see that. Let's not get it twisted. It would be unbelievable to have a 25-year-old superstar in the prime of his career come here. We saw that happen when Shaq came here from Orlando. I mean, that's what the Lakers do. They go get out the big fish." Now, all of this trade talk obviously took a toll on the young LA team. It was actually reported that the trade talk surrounding so much of their roster being linked to a deal for Davis had players skeptical about the current state of the team. Nobody really knew if they were going to be traded away or not. Now, some sources around the team even apparently said that some veterans, and of course the young core, lost trust in James, and they actually believed he was somewhat secretly operating behind the scenes to negotiate a deal to bring in Anthony, and ship some of them to New Orleans, seeing as LeBron and him have the same agent. But it's no question that LeBron wants some superstar help. He made it very clear when drafting his all-star team shortly after this entire situation blew up, when he drafted upcoming free agents of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson, and of course none other than Anthony Davis. During that live all-star draft, Giannis even joked around claiming Brown was tampering with this type of roster. But as far as this offseason goes, once that trade deadline passed by, it was apparent that no matter what Anthony's demands were, the Pelicans would continue the season with him, even resting him to reduce risk of injury leading into this summer, just so his value wouldn't fall whatsoever. The Pelicans didn't want to rush and give him what he wanted, so they decided to wait it out and see what other offers came their way, but LA is still top candidates. They offered up many pieces including Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, along with future draft picks back in February. But as intriguing as all of that was, they still wanted to see what teams like Boston had to say. Now, during this recent draft lottery, the Lakers pick became far more valuable with them jumping to number 4. However, the Pelicans did get number 1, pretty much securing them Zion Williamson. This is huge in the sweepstakes for AD because now New Orleans has a plan for the future with a potential star there, and they can also acquire a bunch from whatever team does want to send a monster deal for Davis, including the Lakers, who have young potential that's proven to be establishing themselves, no matter what the narrative is around them, and can also offer them that pick for them to have both the number 1 and number 4 pick in the 2019 draft, securing 2 high potential players along with that. Now, there's no better deal on the table at this point in time, and pretty much no team can offer something of that caliber. Now, a major reason why the deal was postponed was to see what a team like Boston would offer up once they seen their run throughout the rest of the season and playoffs. But with things increasingly becoming less likely for Kyrie to re-sign there, the team is no longer expected to trade their young core of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, or more, included in any sort of deal for Davis. So with Anthony staying at the number 1 pick, aka Zion, doesn't change his stance, still wanting to be dealt away, if he doesn't end up in LA through trade, he'll leave for nothing in 2020 when his contract's up, and New Orleans will get absolutely nothing in return for a face of a franchise pretty much being robbed by the inevitable. So with all of that being said, it easily makes sense he pairs with LeBron James very soon, with the Lakers being able to offer up the best deal. The Lakers' biggest offer back in February included 5 players and future draft picks, but their new offer could include their recently gained number 4 pick in the draft, along with their young core of Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, and Brandon Ingram. According to reports, Pelicans head coach Alvin Gentry is interested in the idea of a Lonzo Ball, Jrue Holiday backcourt. And despite the Lakers and Pelicans organization being on rough terms for a deal not falling through mid-season, their new GM David Griffin will consider an LA offer if it benefits both teams' futures. Now, at the beginning of this year's season, it was obvious that just having LeBron James wasn't enough. Yeah, he was still going to individually perform as he always has, but many assumed to compete and keep his playoff streak alive, they were going to need more. When James first got to LA, he was asked if he was putting in effort to get big names to come and join him, and he said, "I've always recruited. I've been trying to get guys to come play with me since like 2007. I've got rejected a lot, but I've also not got rejected a lot. A lot of people didn't want to come to Cleveland. Let me just throw that out there. I tried to recruit so many guys to come to Cleveland, and I had a couple guys and it just didn't work out. It wasn't hard getting guys in Miami, I'll tell you that. So now that I think being in LA, I don't think it'd be that hard to get guys here." Now, if all fails when it comes to players joining LA, we had already seen reports in Lakers owner Jeannie Buss contemplating trading LeBron away. Stephen A. Smith was first to report on this, and with all of the hectic situations happening to the Lakers that was already surrounding their team, then Magic Johnson resigning from his job and even failing to get Ty Lue as the head coach, led to the narrative that the team was a mess. With LeBron for once not having a no-trade clause in his contract, Stephen A. talked about this, saying, "Nothing is out of bounds right now. We don't know what is going on in Los Angeles. You've got folks close to Jeannie Buss imploring her to trade LeBron James. He does not have a no-trade clause, and now you haven't given him the coach that he wanted." Now, as soon as this news broke, Ben Simmons' name was immediately thrown in the mix, since he was already being called the next LeBron James when he came into the league. And LeBron even said he has potential to be better throughout his career than he was. But NBC Sports reported on this and said, fair or not, Simmons failing to add a jump shot in year 2 of his career is seen as the reason that Philadelphia has to put him on the trade block. One Western Conference executive brought up a name that could be a Simmons trade target, LeBron James. I think they very well might explore that. James doesn't have a no-trade clause, but he shares the same Clutch Sports agent with Ben Simmons and Rich Paul. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, you definitely won't regret checking out duos coming to the NBA this offseason. I'll see you there.